Jy luister na Maluti FM 97.1. Dit is 3:30 en ons gaan gesels met Dave Henderson. Dave, how are you today?
I have no complaints at all, thanks.
Wonderful. What news is there from the Cape?
Cape Town, my God, let me see. I know there's been more fires, there's been more beautiful weather, and sure, beautiful people walking around the beaches, I guess. Pretty much same old, same old.
Oh, that sounds enticing. Now, we're chatting to Dave Henderson today from MYeBooks. So, Dave, how many authors are you publishing at the moment?
I think at the moment, we're probably on around 22 self-publishing authors.
Wow, that's awesome. I've seen some of the authors receive stress-relieving crocheted puppies as a mascot from MYeBooks. Who came up with this brilliant idea?
That was sure. I would love to claim inspiration for that. Basically, we found a local artist who's able to create these crocheted animals. And we wanted a mascot. We wanted a mascot specifically for authors because, why not? Authors deserve to be comforted and to have something to cuddle. And so what we did was we spent a bit of time getting what we thought was the most awesome and cute mascot designed, which ended up being a puppy, because puppies. And so what we do is it's still in the trial phase. We had about our first batch created, and we're giving them to our kind of favorites and our most recent, but also our favorite authors that we've worked with.
Well, Dave, today you're going to introduce us to a book called Remind Your Body, Shift Your Thinking to Liberate the Body-Mind. And it's by Dr. Elsi Meyer. I'm looking forward to that. But first, you chose a song for us to play. Tell me, what's the reason for choosing that particular one?
I think it's pretty upbeat. So the music video has Christopher Walken, which is just, he's a legend. But it's a damn upbeat song. Like, it's hard to listen and not kind of wiggle your bum as you're listening. So it kind of gets you in a good mood if you're not, and if you're already in a good mood, great. It gives you that time to kind of bounce around the kitchen quite happily. So that was the thinking.
Now, Dave, we're going to listen to your choice of song, and then we want to hear all about that special book.
Perfect.
So that was Fatboy Slim, Weapon of Choice, and that was chosen by Mr. Dave Henderson. He is from MYeBook. Today he's going to tell us more about the story, the book, Remind Your Body. Dave, tell us more about it.
Yeah, I remember, so the author is Dr. Elsi Meyer, and I remember the call from Elsi because as an author, you can get together with the wrong publishing crowd. It's any other business deal where you can partner with the wrong people, and that's what had happened to her first, where she called me and she was not too happy with what the book was looking like and the communication between her and her sort of publishing team. And that's where we stepped in, essentially taking a book that has a soft topic. So these sorts of books, you would say self-help, that touches on softer topics. You need to treat them carefully, and essentially Elsi needed someone to help her shape some of the book's design and just get it looking as professional as possible because she has a business behind the book, and I'll tell you a little bit about the business or point you where to go afterwards. But because she has a business behind the book, any author who has that business takes on an extra importance that the book looks good. Because if a book is put out into the wild and your business is linked to the book and the book isn't done as professionally as possible, obviously that doesn't look good.
Definitely.
Cool. So, if you're okay with it, I'll jump straight into Elsi's preface.
Looking forward to that.
Perfect. So as I mentioned, Elsi came along, and the book is a bit of a softer topic. So the book's title is Remind Your Body, Shift Your Thinking to Liberate the Body-Mind. And Elsi is very experienced in what she does. And so this book was her attempt to sort of distill her knowledge over the years into a form that, you and I can kind of read through. So As with the last book, we jump into the preface, which kind of sets the tone for the book and gives the authors reasons for writing the book. So it's not necessarily the meat of the book, but if the preface catches your fancy, I can't recommend this book enough that you go get a copy and give it a read. So starting from the preface, what is the point, Abdul? What is the point? These are the responded words of Queen Victoria, a woman with immense powers, utters in the film Victoria and Abdul to the Indian manservant who becomes her teacher. Her words echo the cry modern Westerners so often utter on realizing that their minds, values, and lifestyles have locked them up in a very limited space, one in which reason trumps reason for being alive. But this cry about the meaning of life is not only a cry I hear in society, it's also a very personal one for me, one that has forced its way through my being all my life. What are we really doing here? Where does the essence of our being lie? Who are we in relation to God, life, other people, and the world? Although you could say that I had an almost perfect life, I found myself getting up in the morning with a nagging feeling of emptiness. It was this feeling that spurred me on to try to reveal our superficial Western facade, crafted so carefully to look as perfect as possible, and to explore what lay beneath it. I imagine that I am not the only one who asks these and similar questions. But in my questing, what I discovered was that most people ignore the inner voice that tells them who they are in life, and that there is more to life than they are aware of. Many people progress along the path of life without too much hindrance, based on what they see as their reasonable way of living. However, I discovered that there was a growing group of people eager to listen to the stories coming from their inner voice. It was as if they recognized that the stories had arisen in a different place, even if they were not sure how these tales had become part of their knowing. My life journey was inspired by my fascination with the human body, and not just its movement. Somehow, I was born with the idea that there is a magical bridge we can cross between body and mind, and that when we do this, we will find the most wonderful things on the other side. Moreover, I suspected that this had something to do with the body itself. My search for this bridge would take me to a world which I believed existed, but was regarded as an undecipherable secret in the Western world. Despite that limiting set of beliefs, however, I kept on seeking the knowledge that might reveal this mystery to me. Like most of my peers, I was raised in a world where everything we can see, feel, and hear is normal. Things we cannot see do not exist. One can see the body, but not the mind. When we were children, if we fell ill, my mother would take us to our family doctor, and he would treat our bodies as if our minds did not exist. I can still remember his rooms, their smell, and hear the reassuring voice of the receptionist and the firm voice of the nursing sister. I remember how frightening the world of illness was to me, even then. It was frightening because I felt I had no choice over whether an illness had chosen to invade my body, and no choice over how this illness would be treated. I decided then already that this was not a place in which I belonged. I realized also that this space had nothing to do with the fact of my becoming a part of this world, that I would have no choice in the matter of whether life decided to burden me with some other illness, or it felt very wrong to me. Somehow, I knew that there was much more to illness than a diagnosis and subsequent medical treatment. Something from within, not just from outside, was the key. I had a bit more choice, also I thought, in my life at school. I loved learning things, and I still do. I did not have too much difficulty participating, whether academically or in sport and socially. I coped well. We were a normal family with a normal family life. Ours was a safe home, and there was always enough food to eat. Despite this, I could never get away from the idea that there had to be something more to life. After school, thinking I would find the answers there, I studied the science of human movement. I remember that the course was quite challenging on a physical level, but the information was clearly far removed from what I was looking for. I married a surgeon, a smart, honest man with a deep yearning to heal people. I had no reason to believe that his was not a good way to go. As I had done previously, I tried to shut my eyes and ears to the yearning for wholeness. I went on a detour of studies, mathematics, computer science, and trading on the stock market. These were subjects I could talk about to people because they were scientific and real. As time went by, however, I found myself increasingly drawn to the stories in which people rediscovered their life, health, and wholeness by taking responsibility for their thoughts and actions. Whether their rediscovery came through writing a journal, eating more wholesomely, exercising, working with the energy of the body, or meditating, I was spellbound by these stories. My life changed when a friend of mine told me about a model of hypnosis called medical hypnoanalysis. It had been designed by specialists in the US who had recognized the huge role that the mind plays in illness. This took me on the most fulfilling journey. I studied courses in psychology, hypnosis, kinesiology, Reiki, and thought field therapy and creativity. I began to establish for myself the paths that connect the mind, the body, and the body's energy so as to bring about mental, emotional, and physical health. After years of contemplating the ideas, then putting them into practice and seeing the results, I decided to write this book. What a challenge it has proved to be. I once read about a man who was writing a book on death, during which time his wife was murdered. I could not help thinking about life itself had challenged him to share his knowledge about death from a view privy to. Should have seen this as a warning to me. As I was writing my book on awakening and wholeness, and on every good thing that goes with them, life had a very definite challenge in store for me. My husband and I suddenly found ourselves in a very dark and unfamiliar place as a result of huge losses that were suffered in more than one way. We had to fight our way back to life from a very dark hole, arming ourselves with the knowledge and tools I was hoping to sell to the world in my book. The most difficult part, I have to admit, was to avoid giving into the feeling of being a victim. Instead, I now thank those people for being my teachers and for ultimately allowing me to offer a book providing the knowledge and tools I know from experience will serve those who seek to grow and enrich their lives. Remind Your Body contains the picture of the human mind I constructed for myself through my studies. It is my attempt at unmasking the power of your mind and its connections to the body and the body's energy systems. In other words, to the things that make up the you, the essence inside you. I invite you to take this journey with me.
Well, Dave has just read.
That's it.
Yeah, Dave has just read from Remind Your Body. It's Shift Thinking to Liberate the Body Mind, and it's by Dr. Elsi Meyer. Dave, where can they buy this book?
So the book is widely available on Amazon. As per our last chat, hop onto Amazon. You can search for Dr. Elsi Meyer or the book's name, Remind Your Body. Elsi is also smart enough as an author and a business person to have, obviously, her own website. So elsimeyer.co.za. It's ELSIMEYER.co.za, where you can find out more about her and her books and how to get in touch with her as well.
Dave, and if any of our listeners want to contact you, which website can they use or how can they get to you?
They can send a carrier pigeon, actually. No. So the easiest spot right now is to hop on MYeBook.co.za. That's MYEBOOK.co.za. And I would love to meet for a coffee and chat more about your book.